Well, welcome everybody to our Team on Fire call. I am Deborah Baska, and I am really excited to be your host this week. And I don't know if you guys have done a Team on Fire call on a Zoom before, but I like to see people's faces, and I just think it makes it more personal. The technology, for some of you who've never done a Zoom before, you might find it a little more daunting than just dialing a phone number, but I can tell you that it's really effective for doing team calls and even, working with your success partners or even working with challengers. It's kind of like Skype, except for you can have more than one person at a time. And I'm not sure if you can record Skype, so we always like to record these so we can have them on our YouTube channel for future reference. So before we get started into our topic about the 15 success tips for new coaches, I wanted to just share a little bit about who I am in case you aren't familiar with Deborah Baska. I've been a coach for about 4.5 years. I live in Kansas City, and I've been married almost 21 years. I have 3 children, and I used to work in corporate America. So when I started coaching, I was a full-time vice president of marketing. I'd been at my company 20 years, like almost 20 years, and thought I would retire there, thought I would, that was where I was going to end up. It was never where I wanted to end up, but if anybody has had my experience, you know that sometimes you get into a job and the job kind of sticks because you get promoted, you get raises, now you get more vacation, now you get more titles, now you get more money, now you get more vacation, you have great insurance, and the next thing you know, you're stuck. And so for me, when I found Beachbody, I was already very discontent with my job, but I didn't think there was any other way. What does somebody do straight from college into this company? Where do I go? I really felt just very, very stuck. Fortunately or unfortunately, about 6 months after I discovered Beachbody coaching, my job came to an end abruptly. And I knew that despite the heartbreak, the betrayal, the loss, the grief that of course you would have when you lose something that you thought was a part of you. I mean, that was part of who I was, despite the fact that I hadn't been very happy there in the later years. I was almost jubilant. Now, my husband wasn't so much so. He was like kind of, because we were a 2 6-figure income family. My husband had retired from corporate America about 6 months prior to do his own business in real estate. And now here I am, all of a sudden unemployed for all intents and purposes. And I'm now telling him I want to build my own business. And I want to do this with Beachbody. And I know I can do it because by then I'd been in it for 6 months. And I had Hillary Kelly as our upline, and I'd seen what she had done, and I knew where she came from, and I listened to the national wake-up calls, and I could hear the stories and the different backgrounds of people, and every single one of those coaches said, if I can do this, you can do this. If I can do this, you can do this. And it wasn't just one person that said that. It was every one of them. And so I chose to believe that. And I had a bit of a cushion. I got a severance package, so I was able to spend the next year working on my business. And I was not even a diamond when I when I lost my job. It took me, I lost my job in October, late October, and I hit diamond in January. So, I wasn't an overnight success. I wasn't one of those, I have people on my team that are, hitting diamond in 90 days. I tried for that like 4 times. Diamond in 90 days, diamond in 180 days, diamond in whatever. I'm like, I keep missing it. But I kept trying, and I was told, if I can do it, you can do it. And so really the biggest secret to my success, I believe, is that I always did what I was told to do. I mean, success leaves tracks. I mean, that's something I learned when I became a coach, and I didn't really know what that meant, but I do now. It means if somebody's successful, there's a path to their success. And with Beachbody, most coaches are very willing to share their answers. And I love that. This year I've been doing a lot of sharing with other teams, and I've never done that before because I'm like, well, what does that do for me? It doesn't help my team if I'm sharing stuff with other people's teams. But I can tell you this, my team has thrived this year. I truly believe, and that's what Beachbody's all about. When you give, when you put it out there, it just all comes back to you. It's amazing how that happens. So I've always done what I was told to do. I never did less. I always did more. My sponsor, Kelly Nyforth, I remember used to have a weekly accountability call. And she'd give us a piece of paper or a little tracker form, and we had to keep track of everything we did. And on the call, we would all be called upon to give our numbers. And it included personal development, which I hated. I was like, oh man, I am a busy lady. I do not want to read Jim Rohn. I want to read Daniel Steele and James Patterson. But Kelly said, if you're going to be successful, you got to do this. So I'm like, all right. So I was not going to be the girl that got on that call and didn't have my stuff done. If I had committed to doing 10 shares, I wasn't going to be on there with 7. And that's the way I've always worked my business. Always, always, always. Now, having more accountability is helpful for me. I know that. When I have an accountability partner, I am much more productive. But that's the way I've worked my business. I've always, non-negotiable is a term I use a lot with setting goals and hitting Success Club. I've hit Success Club every month since I became a coach. And I didn't even know what it was because that name Success Club, when you sign up as a new coach, you think, well, I'm not successful, so that doesn't apply to me. I'll learn about that later. But that's why we're having this call tonight, because it's very important that you set expectations with your new coaches. And so basically, like I said, 4.5 years later, I'm full-time at this business, 10-star, 3-time elite, should be 4-time elite this year. My daughter's a coach, my husband's a coach, and yes, he started as a placeholder coach, but I can tell you that by signing him on as my very first coach, it's been very, very lucrative to our business, and he is my partner now. I mean, again, some of you may be like, well, my spouse isn't really into this, and he doesn't really want to drink Shakeology, so who cares? Sign him up anyway. I mean, obviously, if he's okay with you signing him up, I don't want you to mess up your marriage or anything, but, it's okay. You don't have to do anything, honey. I just need to put you in here because it's like buying a piece of property. It's like Boardwalk and Park Place on the Monopoly chart. Coach 1 and Coach 2. My mom is over here, my husband's here, and both of their business centers just rake it all in. They just rake in all the volume. So it's really been a family legacy for us. It's changed our life. It's changed my husband's health. It's completely reversed his diseases of cholesterol and diabetes and blood pressure, and he's lost 50 pounds and just super hot, and, I'm 47, he's 56, and, this has just changed our lives. So let's talk about getting new coaches started. I'm going to pull up a slide. I have 15 points, and I'm happy to share the slide, but you might want to take notes so you can add more things to it as well. Okay. There we go. So when I was at Leadership last week, one of the speakers, Susan O'Malley, she's like the most decorated woman in professional sports. She was talking about how when she had interns, it was funny. The story was that it was a Washington Bullets or Wizards game. I don't know which one it was called at the time, but her intern, she said, I could hear him rooting for the other team. And she said it was just like so blatant. Every time the other team scored, I could hear him, yay! She said, I was so mad. I was just livid. I mean, just beyond livid. So she said the next day, I called him into my office, and he was so excited. He's like, wow, the president of the company knows who I am. And she said, I just ripped him a new one. She says, I'm not proud of myself, but I did. And she said, I just ripped him a new one. And you know what he said to me? He said, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to cheer for the other team. And, that's something that a lot of us would think, well, duh, if you work for that company, you got to cheer for that company. But she said, He's right. She said, I never told him that he couldn't cheer for the other team. I never told my interns that I expected them to cheer for the Washington team. So she said, she says, as soon as he left, I sat down and I drew up the 13 rules of survival for being an intern. And I set my expectations out. And so that kind of spurred this idea with me, is that you have to set expectations with your new coaches and with yourself. You have to be specific. So here's the list of things that I want all new coaches to know when they come into this business. Number one, realize that you own it. You are the CEO. And I know a lot of times when new coaches come in, they're a little maybe timid, a little hesitant, a little unsure if this is really for them. Is it still one of those things? And I don't know if I can do what you do. You make it look so easy, and I'm not that kind of person. They have all kinds of doubts. And some coaches are going to come in and they're going to take the bull by the horns, and they're going to get that welcome email and they're going to get right to work. And then other coaches are going to, need a lot more hand-holding or expect a lot more hand-holding. And, what I want a new coach to know, what's expected is that you own it. And what I mean by that is, if you're given things to do, do them. Do them. If you aren't sure what you are supposed to do, ask, and then do what you're told to do, right? Own your knowledge. Be curious. Don't just be so quick to ask. There's FAQs, and we should, all point our new coaches to where the FAQs are. And if somebody asks me something, a lot of times I will tell them, and then I'll say, just for future reference, be sure to check the FAQs. That's, you can find answers to questions that you didn't even know you had. Google. When I was a new coach, I used Google. My favorite saying is, let Google be your friend. Here's a prime example. Time zones. I set up a call and I say, okay, it's 8 p.m. Central Time. What time zone is that for me? Now, if your sponsor coach had to remember the time zone of 100 coaches, how crazy would that be? You need to just know what your time zone conversion is, right? It's easier for you to figure that out. So Google time zone converter. And you be curious. You seek out that knowledge. They say there's no such thing as a stupid question. And certainly, I believe that to be true. But there is such thing as asking the question the same time again, and then it becomes kind of stupid. So, do you know what I'm saying? So once you get that information, our goal as mentors is to help you be independent, to help you be self-sufficient, just like with parents. We want our kids to grow up to be self-sufficient. So by us as sponsors giving our coaches information and telling them how to get it, that's, teach a fisherman how to fish and he will fish for life, right? Or something like that. So be curious, own it. Own it. Ask yourself, before you just ask the easy question, ask yourself, is there another way for me to find this? And chances are, if you find that information, you're going to find even more. Does Shakeology have soy? You could Google that and find the answer. You can FAQ it, you could find the answer. You can look on the back of the bag and find the answer. But that's a common question that is asked. So again, be curious, own your business, own your knowledge. Number 2, do the training. This is what you need to expect of yourself as a coach. I was listening to a coach at Leadership last week, and she's a highly successful 14 months, 12-star, 14-star qualifying. It's like crazy. Oh, and so we're like, oh, you've got to have this great onboarding process, man. She points all of her new coaches to the Coach Online office and says, go in there, do the training, and when you're Emerald, then we'll start working together. She expects, right from the beginning, she lays it out, that she expects her coaches to own it. And there's plenty of information in the Coach Online office. The whole entire Coach Basics program is in there. There's this new place in our training, if you go into Coach Online office training, and it's got all the expectations for every rank. So getting started, you open that getting started, and it tells you what you should know. It has a box that gives you all the resources and tools that you need to have at your fingertips. And then it gives you this box of these are all the things that kind of help, indicate that you're ready to graduate to the next level. It's amazing. Then they have it for coach level, for emerald level, for ruby, for diamond, for star diamonds. It's a beautiful thing. I mean, if a coach went through their coach basics in their coach online office and went through each of those milestones of what is to be expected at each rank, they would totally have everything they need to know. So again, with a team like Team on Fire, and I know in my team, I mean, we pride ourselves on being able to give you guys above and beyond tools. So we love the fact that the corporate has spent a lot of time putting this training together, but we also like the fact that we've been able to add our own touch to it. So yes, I know I have my own coach basics that I have taken from the coach basics in the back office, and I've added some additional information to it. So I've made it my own. But if I didn't make it my own, you would still get all the information that you needed as a note. So you have to do the training. I said this in my last coach basics. I had like 42 people join my coach basics on my team. And I did a video and I said, not everyone's going to finish this. Are you going to be the one that does? Challenge yourself. Tell yourself, I'm going to be one that does, because not everybody's going to finish it. And then those are going to be the coaches that, every time you say you're doing a new mentorship program, like we put on Facebook, they want to join your mentorship program. Like, okay, it's already there and you've already, it's there. You can do it anytime. So you have to own your training. This all goes back to being the CEO of your own business. So you have to set this expectation up for your coach. Remember, we're setting expectations for our coaches. If they're waiting for you, I mean, they may be waiting for you, but the welcome email they get from corporate says, start here. And it walks them through all of the online training. So that's something that you should know too. If you haven't received something like that since I signed up, they didn't have that. So that's really, really important. Number 3, I expect that my coaches are going to get on calls and attend events. They're going to do the National Wake Up Call, team calls just like this one, Super Saturday and Summit. And I had somebody say the other day about Super Summit, about Summit, and they said, well, I thought that was for more successful coaches. And of course, I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, haven't I said this millions of times? But maybe I haven't. Maybe if they had a checklist like this that said, this is what you should expect to do, then there would be no question about it, right? So, I mean, the National Wake Up Calls, the team calls are recorded. Super Saturday is coming up on this Saturday, this weekend. I mean, every coach should be expected to go. I mean, I've been going to Super Saturdays for 4.5 years. I've never missed one. And it's not because I don't have a life. It's not because I have no kids that are in no sports and I have nothing else going on in my life. It's because I've made every one of those be a non-negotiable business meeting. In my past life, if I had a meeting that I was expected to be at, it would not have been acceptable for me to tell my boss I can't be there. Unless, there's some extenuating emergency circumstance, right? But, these things are scheduled a whole year in advance. It should be expected that coaches are going to these things. Number 4, print out a new coach checklist. And so I'll show you the one I created, but, again, make these tools available to your coach, even this list here, and tell them, print this out. I expect you to print this out, and I expect you that you're going to check off each of these things. And it really will help them, again, it sets those expectations so that they're clear. I've tweaked my new coach onboarding process over and over and over through the years. And I'm always trying to make it succinct. I'm trying to make it so that, it's easy to follow so that coaches don't have to guess. And so again, what's easier than a checklist? So make sure they have that. And I'll show you the one that I have here in just a minute. Clean up your Facebook profile. Now, this may be something that maybe you haven't told your new coach. I know it's in a lot of our training, but maybe they haven't got to that part yet. But this is an expectation. You can't assume they're going to know this. Facebook profile should have a picture of them, your smiling face, not your dog, not your flower garden, not some scary Halloween mask. your smiling, welcoming face, and your profile banner should be a nice, clean, crisp something. I mean, it can be your family. It could be your garden. Your profile banner could be your garden. It could be a beautiful motivational saying. But your Facebook, that's the thing that I think a lot of times is for more seasoned coaches, we assume that our coaches they've been following us. They know what I do. They know what my page looks like, but they don't. It doesn't always register with all the other things. So it needs to be expected that you have this conversation. Go into their Facebook page with them on a Zoom call like this, where you share their screen, and point out things to them that can help them make their Facebook profile cleaner and crisper. And really, just as an added benefit, you want to start planting the seed with them that, what message do you want people to get when they come to your Facebook? I mean, before I was a coach, I really never thought about that. I didn't think about what I wanted people to experience when they came to my page. But after I became a coach, I started thinking about that. I'm like, well, what do I want them to experience? I want them to experience happiness, motivation, encouragement, entertainment. I want them to get a sense of who I am. I want them to feel like I'm a real person and not some, figurehead. So I thought about what I wanted my Facebook to represent, and then I made sure that as I posted deliberately. The other reason this is important is because one of our vital activities, right, is inviting people to be our friend on Facebook. I don't know about you, but when I get a friend request from somebody, a lot of times I'm going to go to their Facebook page. I'm going to check them out. And I can tell you, there's some pictures, and I'm like, oh, no, I'm not comfortable with that. So you want to make sure people are comfortable when they come to check you out. So that's why we can't assume. Have to set that expectation. Number 6, I know this is kind of like, yeah, everybody should know this, but you got to know and practice the 3 vital behaviors. And new coaches don't know what those are, right, until they go through training. But for every coach, and this is, these things are things that we need to share with our new coaches, but they are reminders for us as well, right? Work out and drink your Shakeology and post about it every day. I mean, if you go to your new coaches' pages today, are you going to see that on their page? Here's the funny thing, as I'm getting friend requests from people, a lot of times I'll go and I'll look at their pages and stuff like that, and then I'll message somebody about my challenge group and they'll say, oh, I'm a coach. And I just oftentimes want to say, and I don't want to be snide, but I think to myself, well, gosh, is that like your best kept secret? Because why is there nothing on your page that has any indicator that you work out, you eat right? There's nothing. So you've got to work out and drink your Shakeology every day and post about it. That doesn't mean take a picture of your Shakeology bottle like this. It means, if you're, sitting at your office, you have your Shakeology cup right there beside you. It's just kind of in the picture. I mean, sometimes it can just be in the background, right? And people, it resonates. Like, oh, I always see that Shakeology stuff in her pictures. I wonder about that. Personal development every day. Can't stress this enough. I tell you guys this every time I go. I mean, you hear this at Summit too, but every time I hear any of the top coaches speak, this is always their very top. Their top secret sauce, personal development. It's the top secret sauce. And I can tell you, I was one that fought it. I didn't want that to be the case. I didn't think that my mind could be changed by reading a book. But my life has been changed. My outlook in life has been changed. I couldn't be the coach that I am today, the person, the wife, the mother, the Christian. I couldn't be any of those things without doing my personal development. And now I actually yearn for it. So yes, occasionally I still want to read a Daniel Still and a James Patterson. But quite honestly, when I do read one of those, I'm kind of like, that's kind of, lame. So you will become addicted to it. Do audios, do books, whatever it is that's your cup of tea. I mean, podcasts. Oh my gosh, there's some amazing podcasts. What a great time to, like, while you're driving in the car or on a walk or on a run. It's a great thing. You can do this so easily. And then, of course, you want your coaches to know that they need to start inviting, sharing, and reconnecting right away. And I think this is something that is an expectation that we don't make clear enough. So there's a nice little script It's a 7-day new coach script, and another coach on the team developed it, and I use it. But basically it tells them, this new coach, here's what you do your first 7 days as a coach. Okay, when you get your kit, you take a picture of it and you post it on Facebook, and you're like, yay, woo, look what I'm going to do. Day 2, you post a picture of you working out and your Shakeology and a motivational quote. And day 3, you post this. And day 4, it tells them exactly what to post. Makes it super easy. And I'm telling you, what to post is not intuitive to many people. It is just not. Think about, yourself when you became a coach. I mean, we don't post on our personal pages like we post as coaches. We ought to be posting very deliberately and very compelling content that all speaks to our message. So giving them that information is helpful, and telling them, start reconnecting with people. Go into your Facebook friends list and start reconnecting. Go to your friends' timelines and click like on their pictures and comment and ask them questions and personal message. Hey, I saw you, gosh, it's been so long. I saw you just got back from Hawaii. How cool is that? Was that vacation or was that a work trip? Just reconnecting. New coaches need to know that's an expectation, because that is the other secret sauce. There's a lot of secret sauce in this business, but it's really not a secret, right? Because it's all out there. 3 vital behaviors, they're everywhere. It's not a secret. But you have to reconnect, and you have to be adding new people. It's not too soon to start teaching your new coaches how to add new people. Look at your friends, look at their mutual friends. If they don't have a scary picture as their profile picture, send them a friend request. And when they accept it, hi, Susie, thanks so much for the ad. I saw we were mutual friends with Joe. Are you also a runner? What's your favorite distance? Boom. Now you have a new relationship. Don't mention Beachbody. Okay. All right. So number 7, know your why that makes you cry. I always go over this in our Coach Getting Started Right call. I have a form I ask them to fill out, and then we go over it in more detail. The thing about the why that makes you cry is, a lot of times if you ask a coach what their why is, why they want to become a coach, they will tell you because they want to help people, because they like to work out, because they like the idea of being more accountable to their fitness. And that's great. But I always ask them to dig deeper. So why is that important to you? So why is it important that you help people? Why is it important that you have more accountability? Well, I just, my daughter, she's starting to gain weight, and I want to set a good example for her, and I don't want her to, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay. So why is that important to you? Well, because, my daughter, I know I grew up feeling you dig down deep, you peel back the onion, and you have to help your coaches do that. But that's why you have to set that expectation with them, that the why that makes you cry is what this is all about. Because if you don't have one of those, you're not going to do the business. There's a few people, there's some of you who maybe, well, I just like the challenge of it. I just think it's fun. That's great. And I do too. I think it's challenging and fun and all that. But, the why that made me cry, the why that made me do things that were uncomfortable, that made me do things I didn't want to do, that made me talk to people that I was afraid to talk to, that made me stay up late so I could get the 20 invites instead of the 19. The why that made me cry was that I was not going to go back to corporate America, because corporate America made me cry. It made me a sick, hot mess. And I wasn't going to do that. I wanted to be with my family, my kids, for the first time in their life. I wanted to be home with them. I wanted to have freedom. I wanted my mind to be back in a positive place. That was the why that made me cry. And I worked. I just kept that in mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, if this doesn't work, if I don't make this work, that's my option. I have to go there. I have to go back there. The why that makes you cry may be, your kids. It may be, a lot of times it will be to your family. It will be, maybe your heredity. Maybe you had, your father or your mother and your uncles, and they died early from heart disease, and you don't want to go down that path. And you know that you've got to get your own fitness under control, and you want to help others do the same because you want to save them from that kind of pain. The why that makes you cry is so important. And you have to print it out, post it, and fuel it every day. When I mean fuel it, that means you look at it. That's why you print it and post it. make it the screensaver on your phone, put it on your computer. I just had mine written out on a piece of paper, and I still have that. My first why. Your why will change over time, but I still have it. And when I look at it today, I'm like, wow, that's not my why anymore. I conquered that. That all came to pass, and now I have a different why that makes me cry. So that's very important. Don't let your coaches skim over this process. It can be painful, but through our mess comes our message, right? People will most relate to you when you are at your most vulnerable. Number 8, stay connected to your team page, to your sponsor, to other coaches. This is what I see happen. I'll have a new coach get started perhaps, and I'll add this person to our team page, and I'll get them added into our Coach Basics. I have this little coach private message chat. Get them in there. I'll send them my welcome email. I'll ask them to set up a call with me. I put that in their hands because they're owning their business. I say, set up a call for your first call with me. And then I don't, I see a little bit of activity, and then I don't see anything else. When you disconnect from your team, when you disconnect from your sponsor, you disconnect from your coaches, you are setting yourself into an isolated situation. And when you're isolated and alone with your own thoughts and nothing else, it is not a pretty place. And you need to stay connected. And whenever things are hard, when things don't seem to be working for you, when you get discouraged, and we all do, leadership, the huge topic of our leadership was about the struggles that we as top coaches face, and that they are the same things that you guys face. It's fears and doubts and, periods of not seeming very successful, not seeming to matter, doubting ourselves, all these things. If you disconnect, you're basically holding up the white flag. You're surrendering, because you can't do this by yourself. You just can't. I personally don't think you can do this by yourself. And it's the same way with the challenger. When I see a challenger step back and I personal message them, 9 times out of 10, it's because they fell off, they're embarrassed, they feel bad about themselves, and they want to shrink quietly away and lick their wounds. And if I can, I want to pull them back in. I want to say, it's okay. We're here. We're in this together. And that's the same way that happens with coaches. When they start to feel like they're not being successful as they think they should be, or maybe they know they're not really doing the things that they're supposed to do, and they just don't know how to get themselves out of that funk, they shrink away, and they go away to lick their wounds. And the next thing you know, they're quitting. So stay connected. Let your coaches know in advance, this is going to happen. There's going to be a time when you feel like you just want to slink away because, you're just embarrassed. You feel bad. You feel doubtful. Just the first thing you should do is reach out and say, this is how I'm feeling. I'm not sure that after talking to you, I'll feel any different, but this is how I'm feeling. Stay connected. So important. Number 9, you want to accept the expectation that they're going to hit Emerald. Again, I think this is something that sometimes we pussyfoot around, or sometimes we're afraid to give them too bold of an expectation. But this is, if they tell you they're a discount coach, yeah, you're not going to be, but hobby coach or working the business coach, whatever you want to call it, hitting Emerald is an expectation. And when I hear the leaders talk at leadership, that's how they train their new coaches. They don't say, like, make it be like it's this big thing, like, oh my gosh, it's like, okay, here it is. We're going to do a getting started right call. You're going to get your workout kit. You're going to start working out your strategy. You're going to hit Emerald. You're going to hit Success Club. And these are the things you're going to do in your first 30 days. If you're matter of fact about it, they're going to be matter of fact about it. If you set the expectation, then, because they're moldable right now. They're brand new. They're moldable. Maybe it took you 6 months to hit Emerald. That's not their problem. We all know that you can hit Emerald in your first 30 days at least. So you need to set that expectation. Set them up for success. Put those good things in their mind so that they feel confident. Same thing with Success Club. Hit it every month. Again, as I was a new coach, I certainly thought this thing with the word success in it did not apply to me because I was not successful. I was a new coach and I didn't even know what it was. So it's our job to make sure we set that expectation, that a new coach knows this is something they need to be doing. And we need to make sure that we explain to them why it's important. It's in the Coach Online Office. It's in the Coach Basics training. It's everywhere. But you also need to, and you're getting started right call. And a lot of these things that you could go over in that first call or maybe the second call, I mentioned these things. And Success Starter, that's why we created that program, so that every coach knows that a new coach can do this and win that free ticket to Summit. Number 11 and 12, apparently, partner with your sponsor. And I put this in here because sometimes I'll see coaches come in and they get stymied. They'll either think that they need to go out and run their first challenge group right away, or they get stymied and they don't run a challenge group and they're like 3 or 4 months down the road and they still haven't run a group. This is the best thing you can do for your coaches is I do, we do, you do. That's the way to teach them how to duplicate what you do. So I do. That means you, the coach, you do the challenge group. You do the getting started right call. You do the sneak peek. Your new coaches, they come in, they observe, they're there with you, they take notes, they learn. Then we do. Okay, second time. Okay, now it's time for another challenge group. Okay, new coaches, now you're going to partner with me in this. So here's the post, like we're doing a 21-day fix. There's the post in the online office. How about I do week 1, you do week 2. And I'll check in the morning and answer questions. You check in the afternoon. We do. And then they do. Now they've gone through this process twice, right? So now they're ready to duplicate and do it on their own. And you can be in there and you can observe and be their safety net if they need some help. Same thing with the getting started right call. These are 2 things, challenge groups and getting started right calls. It's important that you do that process. I do, we do, you do. And I will tell you this, that sometimes coaches are reluctant to do that with you. Getting started right call, for instance, it seems hard to get a coach to do a 3-way call and get that on. And I don't know if it's because they think that it shows a sign of weakness or something, but let them know right up front, expectations. This is what we're going to do. And the whole point of this is to duplicate, because if they're hitting Emerald in their first 30 days, they're assigning new coaches. They need to know how to set their new coaches up right too, right? Assuming there's some business coaches in there. So you want a duplicatable process. Number 12, post on Facebook every day, compelling content. We've already talked about that. But again, it cannot be assumed that they know that. So giving them that 7 days of posts, going over with them, okay, you need to do, 3 compelling posts a day. One of them can certainly be your workout or something about your food, pictures of your kids, your dogs, your work, your cars, whatever your hobbies are, things that make you, motivational pictures, Google fitness motivation, and you'll just find so many amazing things. Make sure they know they need to be doing this. One of the things that if you look at a lot of people's Facebook pages, you see that a lot of people just share stuff from other pages. So that's one thing I teach my new coaches. I'm like, we don't want to just share stuff, because if you're sharing, you're giving props to the page you're sharing from. And when I go look at a page, and if it's all just shared stuff, I don't have any feel for who that person is. So compelling content is very important. Another word is scroll stopping. So that's another word I like to use. Is your post scroll stopping? That doesn't mean it has to be some fancy photoshopped, pick monkeyed picture, but you can have a scroll stopping picture or a post that maybe it's just a great comment, a great quote. So teach your coaches that right up front. Number 13, seek the right success partner. And, they talked about this at Summit. Julie Voris and Danielle Natoni gave a great talk about this. And, chances are a new coach will start out and they will have many success partners over time. It's okay. Maybe they have a success partner that you assign them. Maybe you do that in your Coach Basics. Maybe, I've, talked to my coaches and said, who do you most admire? Who's a coach on our team that really stands out to you? And then we'll talk about that. And then we'll sometimes make a match that way. But having a success partner, again, helps a coach from being isolated, helps them from disconnecting, right? It gives them an extra source of support. Finding the right partner, obviously, they talked about that at leadership too. Make sure that, when you find a success partner, that you interview them. And for your new coach, I would recommend that you teach them how to do that. Say, well, here's what you want from a success partner. You don't just want a yes person. You don't just want someone that's going to pat you on the back when you're upset and say, oh, I know, that sucks, doesn't it? You want someone that's going to support you but push you, that's going to know what you need to work on and hold you accountable to that. That's going to be your friend, right? That would be nice. Somebody that you have good chemistry with. Maybe somebody that has some of the strengths that you don't. And so I really recommend, I always tell my coaches today, I might help them, look at a couple different people that I think would be a good match for them. And then I'll say, well, why don't you reach out and just have a conversation, get on the phone and chat and see if you guys have chemistry. And at the end of the day, let me just assure all of you, if you and your partner don't have chemistry, if you find out that really, we worked together for a couple months and it wasn't the right fit, no hard feelings. Nobody should have hard feelings about that, right? A success partner can be your friend, and sometimes they're a better friend than a success partner. But at the end of the day, not being a success partner should not hurt that friendship, right? So kind of separate the two. Number 14, realize it's okay to be afraid. And courage is the antidote to fear. And so, again, new coaches, they come in and they are afraid. And sometimes, and even we're afraid sometimes too, right? I mean, we can be paralyzed by fear, paralyzed by what we don't know. I mean, I did a post the other day and I asked people, which of these things are your biggest roadblock to becoming a coach? And one of them was a fear of failure or fear that I won't succeed. And that was like on everybody's list. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay. That's one thing I've learned from my personal development. What I have learned is that courage can only exist in the presence of fear. So don't you like to think of yourself as being a courageous person? Well, you can only be courageous if you have some kind of fear. If you have no fear of anything, there's no courage, right? So that kind of helped me put it all together and make sense. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid to talk to that person. I'm afraid to ask that person to be a coach. I'm really afraid to have this conversation. But okay, it's, it's not going to kill me, right? And then I'll just say, okay, but I'm going to be courageous. And maybe that's one of your little sticky notes I just put sticky notes all over my house with like little motivational mantras. Maybe that's one. I am courageous. But your coaches need to know everybody's afraid at first. And even coaches that have been coaches for a long time are still afraid. But teach them that it's okay to be afraid, and only with fear can come courage. And we all want to be courageous. That's a wonderful, wonderful attribute. Finally, know your core beliefs. And so this is a long list of 15 things, but these are great things that you can talk about with your coaches over time too. But this last one, know your core beliefs. Your belief system is really, really, really the secret sauce. If you don't believe in what you're doing, nobody else will either. And I always tell my coaches, you have to believe in something that you cannot see or experience yet. Now, you can see other coaches being successful, and you can certainly tell yourself, well, that's because they're amazing. That's because they're super talented. That's because they're a master trainer. That's because they grew up in New York City and have a bajillion friends. That's because their husband's a professional baseball player. There's all reasons why you'll look at a successful coach and say that's why they're successful. But that's not why they're successful. That's not who they were. I mean, the things that you look at and you see as rock star qualities, a lot of them didn't even have that in the beginning. Now, they had it inside of them somewhere. But like Brigitte Linford at Leadership talked about, she just hit the Millionaire Club. She's been a coach for, I think, 4 years. She got our leadership award at Summit. She says, I am the girl that never believed she would amount to anything. She faced severe depression. She was suicidal. She, never, stay-at-home mom, never worked at any job other than a Denny's. And now here she is leading $1 million business, getting the leadership award. She had that inside of her. Personal development, this community of coaches, having a sponsor that believed in her and that could show her, even if you don't have a sponsor that does that, you are on national wake up calls. I can listen to Scotty Hobbs even when he's not my sponsor, and I can hear him tell me what I can do, what can happen for me. We all have that. And so you have to know your core beliefs. When you become a coach, do you believe in the products? Do you believe they work? Are you proud to represent them, or do you do it somewhat tentatively? Oh, well, Shakeology is so expensive. I hate to ask people to buy it. Oh, I would really love to help people, but I hate to ask them to spend that much money. If you have that kind of belief about your products, then you're not going to convince, and we don't ever want to convince. You're not going to ever have anybody that thinks differently. If you're getting lots and lots of price objections all the time, you need to look at what your thoughts are about Shakeology and how you're presenting it. If you're doing it apologetically or if you're doing it with conviction. You also need to know that the business works, right? You have to believe in that. And maybe you're a new coach and you don't have a lot of financial success yet. You have to believe that it can. Here's the thing. If somebody else is accomplishing or living your dream, it's a good thing because it's possible. Isn't that cool? That's pretty cool. It's not impossible, this dream that you have to be a full-time Beachbody coach. It's not, because other people are doing it. And you have to keep remembering and reminding yourself, there is nothing special about those people more special than me. It's all inside of you. And if you let it with your personal development and all the things that you learn, the growth, those things will come out if you're teachable. You can't grow your business if you don't grow yourself. That's just the bottom line. And here we are back to personal development again. I highlighted a couple things that I wanted to mention along the lines of beliefs. Here's something. Why wouldn't you want to be a part of something that, by creating real results, can change so many lives? Is that how you look at yourself as a coach? When you think about presenting this opportunity to people, do you think in terms of that way? Why wouldn't they want to be a part of something that, by creating real results, can change so many people's lives? That's pretty incredible. These are the core beliefs. And coaches come into this business with a lot of preconceived notions, a lot of fear, a lot of doubts about themselves and about the business. It's your job as their leader. Your number one job as their leader is to inspire belief. And so setting the expectation with your new coach right up front, these are the beliefs that successful coaches have. And repeating those to them often until they either say, yeah, I totally get that, or maybe they don't. Maybe they don't ever buy in, and then you kind of know, okay, maybe this isn't for you. Do you believe that? Here's something that Vito Lafata said, when he was talking about building confidence and having confidence in presenting the business. He said, I have the cure for obesity and I have a cure for being broke. I have all the confidence in the world at talking to people about this stuff because I have the cure for obesity and I have the cure for being broke. I mean, what more could you want, right? I mean, you can help people save their lives, change their lives, and help them get out of financial debt and poverty. Do you believe you have those two things? That he said that was his core belief about this business. So, you need to ask yourself, what are your core beliefs? And I think it's important to talk about this. You have to know what your core beliefs are so that you can talk with your new coaches about it, and then they can start developing their core beliefs. So these are 15 things that I think, some of these are things that maybe we don't always express clearly enough to our coaches when they come on board. It's all in one succinct list instead of all over the place. And, sharing this with your new coaches should set them up for success. And just tell them that this is your list of things you should expect in your business in order to be successful. And with that, I will close this down and I will see if anybody has any comments or questions. If you have any questions, you can type them in, or you can unmute yourself if you want to ask a question out loud. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Anybody? Everybody got it? Hi, Jen. Let's see. What do you say when somebody objects because of price? Well, what I've been saying recently is, oh, so like a challenge pack, $140, like 21-day fix. So it's $5.30 a day. I just kind of put it back to them and say, oh yeah, I said $5.30 a day, question mark. Oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way. It works, it's been working. So I break it down by cost per day, and the challenge pack, usually I do that with Shakeology, but I've been doing that with the whole challenge pack. And I say, $5.30 a day for one complete meal, plus your workouts, plus your support. So it's cheaper than going out to eat and going to a gym. So that's what I say. Anybody else? Do you have a daily post list for your coaches? I have a what to post workshop that I did recently that was really successful. It's 21 days of posts, 3 times a day. So I have that. That's actually a part of, in my team page, I have a pinned post. And the pinned post has a welcome video for me saying welcome to our team. And then it has links to all kinds of other things. It has a link to our team Google Drive. It has a link to the Coach Basics if they want to go through it self-guided. It has a link to the what to post. So yes, that was very helpful. I don't provide that every day, of course, but it's worthwhile to do, and it's a little time consuming. Fortunately, Jen Arias and I, we did it together, but we had some help from some other coaches in putting content together, but it's very, very helpful. And then the 7 days of what to post, that's a document that, again, somebody on Team on Fire created, and I'll be happy to share that. 21 days is awesome. Outside of the specials, do many order the higher cost packs? I don't really promote the higher cost packs that much. I promote the 21-day fix like all the time. Even when it's not on sale. But yeah, sometimes people come in and they know that they want something specific. They want Insanity Max 30 in specific. So, I typically sell, the sale packs or the 21-day fix or the 3-day refresh. I'm just not getting, people $205 for a challenge pack. I'm not getting a whole lot of people buying those at full price, like Insanity and all that stuff. So now Courtney Blanco sold a showcase challenge pack the other day. I was like, whoa. Having trouble staying consistent and focused. Well, I think that the biggest part, I have that same problem. I definitely do. And I stay the best focused when I have my business activity tracker. And I'm looking at Tracy Hastings right now because she was like my business activity tracker queen when she was a new coach, and she hit diamond very quickly. I do best when I have a tracker, and I do even better when I have to turn it into somebody. So I had to turn mine in. Like I said, when I first started, my coach required us to turn our numbers in on a call. And then after I had been a coach for a couple of years, I got connected with a mentor, and he asked for my business activity tracker every week, which I had never filled out before. And I was really like, oh, this sucks. But you know what? My numbers, I hit my goals. I blew them out of the park. So here's the deal. So you sit down and you say, okay, I've set my goals for the week. I'm going to do 20 invites a day. Yes, do less, do more, not less. I'm going to add 10 new people a day. I'm going to, invite this many people. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so when I sit down to work, if I have that right beside me, I am not going to be the person that doesn't hit my goals. I'm not going to turn in my tracker to my mentor. And if I said I was going to invite 100 people that week and only have invited 50, that would be inconsiderate to me of his time. That would be disrespectful. It's also not, being the CEO of my business. CEOs, you got to get stuff done. So staying focused, it's something that you have, sit down, set yourself a timer, for your power hour. If you have a hard time, not getting distracted, then okay, I'm going to do my invites right now, and I'm going to spend 10 minutes on it, and I'm going to set my alarm, and I'm going to whip these out and tell your family, unless the house is on fire, I don't want anyone to come in here for the next 10 minutes and get it done. I'm not the best at this stuff. I'm just telling you things that have worked for me. Ultimately, you have to figure out, you've got to go back to your why that makes you cry and say, if I don't do this, then that's not going to happen. How many people do I aim to friend per day? When I am doing my power tracking, then I would aim to friend 5 to 10. Back in the day, when friending wasn't such a scary thing to do, getting blocked and stuff, then I was inviting like a lot more people to be my friend. But now I keep it, kind of 5 to 10-ish, and I'm very situational. Like if I happen to be in a group or I'm on a comment thread and it's like we all have a lot of mutual friends, I'm like, oh yeah, that person looks cool, that person, then I'll do that. The one thing I recommend is that you keep your pending friend requests cleaned up. If you don't know how to do that, you can Google it or you can ask, another coach on the team. But if you keep your pending friend requests cleaned up, so that there's not like, I didn't know anything about that. So I'm sure I probably had like 200 pending requests, people that didn't accept my request. Then that kind of gets Facebook's attention. And they're like, okay, why is she spamming all these people with friend requests? So really adding new people to your network is a secret sauce. If you're running out of people to talk to, you won't if you're adding new people every single day. How many people do you friend? Let's go up. On demand. I don't know if I have a lot of people signing up for it. I think it's a great alternative. And especially if you can get them in an on-demand challenge pack. On-demand is not going to take away our income. It's not going to take away our business. It's an enhancement to it. And the more things they add, you can have, I think, build really, really, really loyal customers. Getting, think about somebody that buys a P90X. They're going to buy it once. They're going to use it. Maybe they'll use it over. If you're like my husband, he's done 15 rounds of P90X. He would not be a customer I would be making very much money on because he just does that program over and over and over. But if you have Beachbody On Demand, and that comes up to renew every quarter, you're making money on that. Your customers are getting diversity. There's constantly new stuff being added to it. So I think it's a really great thing. Derm exclusive, love Derm exclusive. I use it every day. Okay, Tracy got her number 14. How often are the Ultimate Reset or High Performance or the skincare line? What's up with those? I'm not sure. I don't understand that question. Okay, so coming down, the biggest thing that produces the biggest results for my business, inviting. That's funny because, I've done Chalene Johnson's Smart Success and Marketing Impact Academy. I've done all these things. And, I've listened. She has a great podcast. I think it's called I can't remember what it's called, 6 Figures in 90 Days or something. I'll have to look it up. But, it's like, what's that one thing? If you didn't do anything else with your business, if you delegated it all out, somebody to do your graphics, someone to create your group, someone to post in your group, somebody to do your recognitions, if you could delegate everything else out, what's the one thing that you must do in order to grow your business? And I said, it's inviting. And I told my husband that too, because he asked me, he's like, what is it? I'm like, it's inviting. When I don't invite, my business doesn't grow. When I invite, my business grows. There's no way around it. And posting on Facebook is not an invite, in case you were wondering. Facebook marketing kind of sucks right now. So I'm not getting much at all from my like page. So I don't spend a lot of time over there. I like to nurture my personal profile page. I like to add new people to my personal profile page. You don't want to be too businessy on your page. That's another thing. We kind of got this big scare about Facebook. Okay, if we're we're posting links to our website saying buy here, buy me, that could be triggered as doing business on your personal page. And that's not what your page is for in Facebook's eyes. So, just be, and you should never be salesy on your personal page, right? But saying, I have this great challenge group. Who wants to join me in getting fit? Personal, then you can comment and reply to people in a personal message and send them your website. Don't post your website on your Facebook page. That's just tacky. DeborahBaska.com, if you have like a regular website or a blog or something, you can direct people to your blog and say, learn more here. But, when you post a link to a product and you think someone's going to just click on that link and buy it, I know you're really, really hoping. You're just like, oh, I hope somebody does this, but they don't do that. And it just looks salesy. And let's do one more question. How much personal development do you do each day? Oh, that's so funny. Well, I'm on a 52 book challenge this year. So if that answers your question, I read every day. Sometimes it's, like I have some Bible studies on my phone that I'll do. I have a book that I'm reading called The Charge. I've got a podcast that I'm listening to right now called Starts With Why by Simon Sinek. I have my list of podcasts that I like to listen to. So to answer your question, I don't put a timer on it anymore. Depends what I'm doing. If I have time to sit down and read, if I have time for a podcast, whatever, but I do it every single day and I love it. And if I don't love what I'm reading, then I'll do something different. I mean, I used to be really like, I hated to not finish a book. Now I'm just like, my time's too precious. Move on. Get on. Be gone with you, boring book. So, do you believe a blog is needed? I don't believe it's needed. We can talk about that some other time. I can tell you on another call perhaps what value a blog brings to me, but it's not necessity. All right, guys, I've kept you on this phone for an hour, but I hope it's been helpful. I will post the slides, and actually the slides that I'll be sharing has my new coach onboarding process, as well as a new coach checklist, as well as a second phase checklist, and then it has this success factor. So you'll get a lot of good information on that slide. So hope that was helpful. And yes, I do feel burned out sometimes. But I still am having way more fun than I ever would be if I was in corporate America. So if you look at my Facebook page, you'll see the things that I get to do. I mean, I volunteer at a pet shelter during the day. I get to spend time with my mom and my kids. I'm a football mom. I get to go up tomorrow and serve lunch to the boys, doing mani-pedis with my mom, going to movies. I mean, I have a lot of fun, but I do work hard. And when I work, I try to make it be super productive. So with that, I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for hanging in with us.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.